Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with our Final Fantasy Commander deck profile with Squall, SeeD, Mercenary. For 2, a white and a black, you get 3-4, where whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. And whenever Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, in this deck we run plenty of cards that will make it so that Squall could deal that combat damage to our opponent by making him unblockable or giving him trample, something along those lines. And making it so that we can get exalted. This way we focus on him attacking alone. This way when he deals that double strike damage to our opponent, it counts as 2 different instances of dealing that damage. So we can bring 2 things back from the graveyard. And then on top of that, we have plenty of things that will sacrifice themselves to get good effects in our graveyard for 3 mana or less. But that's the general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. So to start off, as always, we have Arcane Signet for that mana. Basilisk Collar for 1 mana, 2 to equip. We have equipped creature has Death Touch and Lifelink. It's always good to have Death Touch and Double Strike because that makes the creature incredibly difficult to block, making so people tend not to block it, and you can make sure you get in with that damage with Squall. Also, these are mostly, well, actually no, they're all under 3 mana, so you can bring them all back with Squall in case someone uses a Vandal Blast or some other type of artifact removal. Birdhood Regalia, equipped creature has Ward 2, making it harder to target Squall, making it so you could have a little bit of protection on him, and then it only costs 1 to equip and making him unblockable. This way, once again, we get the double strike in on our opponent, bring 2 things back from our graveyard. Commander Sphere, normally we tend not to run too many Dree artifact mana spells. I do like them personally, but I know they're not the most popular, but this one's really good in here because you can sacrifice this artifact to draw a card, bring it back with Squall's ability, and then, once again, tap it for mana again while you're at it. Lightning Greaves, we want that protection on Squall because he is an easy target for removal, and we want him to be able to attack the turn he comes down to revive something, because almost everything in this deck is 3 mana or less. I think this is like one of the only ones that's not. This way we can make sure that we bring back the stuff that we already sent to the graveyard the turn he comes down. Mask of Memory, whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, once again, something that we're looking to do with Squall a whole bunch, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a card. So send that card to the graveyard that we want to revive with Squall, while keeping the lands that we needed to draw from our deck in our hand. And if we, with a double strike, we get to do that twice, because it counts as 2 separate instances of dealing that damage to our opponent. Shadow Spear, there we go. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, trample and lifelink. That trample damage will allow us to deal a little bit of extra damage to our opponent. Sometimes you just need the 1 to get through. Permanency your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible to end the turn. This way, even if they have a indestructible blocker, which could easily block the double strike without worrying about the first strike ability of the double strike, you make sure you get around that a little bit there as well. But it's mostly the trample, so we can make sure we deal out damage to our opponent. Soul Ring for some mana. Swiftfoot Boots, same thing as Lightning Greaves, where we want our creature to attack the turn comes down, we need that little bit of protection. Sword of the Animus, whenever a equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card. We're not exactly we're in Orzhov, so we don't necessarily have the most mana fixing. We do have a little bit, so we take what we get, and it's only 2 mana, so we could always bring it back with Squall if it ever gets destroyed. Talisman Hierarchy, a little bit of mana off that. And Trailblazer Boots, equipped creature has non-basic land walk. I mean, if you're playing a commander game, at least one person should have non-basic land. This way you'll be able to deal that damage to that person and get those 2 things back from your graveyard with that double strike. A Cursed Marauder, whenever a Cursed Marauder enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature, so you bring him back with Squall, he sacrifices himself, each opponent has to sacrifice something that they need, you deal another damage with Squall with that double strike ability, you sacrifice him again, make everyone sacrifice 2 things. A Crazed Squire, Exalted. Whenever a creature attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. That does stack on top of each other based upon the way that Exalted is worded. So say if you have him with Exalted and say somehow you got Exalted on a Cursed Marauder, he'd be +2/+2. This way we actually have a way to win the game as well, and we could, potentially win with that commander damage, especially with the double strike, allowing us to get there a little bit quicker. Aven Squire, once again, Exalted, flying. Mainly the Exalted that we're looking for on there, though. Bastion Protector, commander creatures you control, +2/+2 and indestructible. I take whatever protection we can get for Squall on this deck. This way we can make sure that, he doesn't get destroyed, and we can make sure we deal damage. Also, once again, only 3 mana off of that. Battleverse Angel, flying, exalted. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink till end of turn. So, Squall's a 4/5 at that point when it's attacking alone. If it only has this one exalted, of course. Once again, we can always make it even bigger with Even Squire and the other ones. But yeah, that's 4 damage, double strike, lifelink. But mostly the exalted ability we're looking for in there. But 8 life is still helpful in most cases. Promir, Warden in a Tower. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Good way to get around our opponent's stuff. 3 mana to keep bringing it back. The second ability allows us to scan to graveyard easily with Sacrifice Bromir. Creatures you control gain indestructible to end the turn. Oh, did I not put Selfless Savior in this deck, actually, thinking about it now? Oh, no. Oh, there he is. Yep. But yeah, like I said, really wanted that protection there for Squall, and even if we do sacrifice him, we just get him right back when, we attack with Squall. Well, when we deal damage with Squall, we still have to make sure he's unguarded. Braids Arisen Nightmare. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. Each opponent has to do that. If they don't, you gain 2 life, draw a card. So, you can just sacrifice Braids. This way, you just bring Braids back during your next turn and sacrifice at the beginning of that end step. As long as we keep Squall around. Brina, the Demagogue. Whenever a player attacks, one or more of your opponents, aka if we're attacking our opponent, if that opponent has more life than another one of your opponents, that attacking player draws a card and get 2+1/+1 counters on a creature you control. So, no matter what, we're getting the counters on our creature. If we attack our opponent, we're going to get the little bit of draw power off that as well. It's just a good card in the set in terms of, making so people don't attack us. While we're, sacrificing all their stuff with Curse Marauder. Or Braids. No one will want to attack you, right? Kadar Commando, sacrifice this creature, destroy target artifact or enchantment, only 2 mana. Easy to bring back with Squall. This way you can keep destroying more artifacts and enchantments, making so no one has a soul ring. Demon's Disciple. Whenever Demon's Disciple enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Same thing as Curse Marauder, just 1 more mana to get him out. But once again, since it's only mana value 3 or less with Squall's ability, we do still get it back. Esper Sentinel, whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card. We're going to get a little bit of draw power off this. It's only 1 mana, so it's easy to bring it back with Squall. It's the main reason we run it in here now. Fang Fearless. Whenever 1 or more cards leaves your graveyard, you draw a card, you lose a life. Only happens once each turn. So, if we deal damage with Squall, we get Esper Sentinel back, we get to draw a card, then we get to draw a card if our opponent tries to remove something like a Path to Exile. Flashback Marauder, once again, another Curse Marauder ability, just 3 mana this time around, same as Demon's Disciple. This way you can, keep sacrificing our opponent's stuff while we keep getting our stuff back from the graveyard. Giver of Runes, another target creature you control, gains protection from colors until end of turn, or from color of your choice until end of turn. So, we give Squall protection from whatever we need protection from in order to make sure it keeps attacking in on our opponent. This way it could deal that damage and get, Giver of Runes potentially back from the graveyard even. Jarina, Dauntless General. When Jarina, Dauntless General enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. That's nice to do that a whole bunch, just in case our opponent's running a graveyard deck. Now they're not. Sacrifice Jarina, humans you control gain hexproof and indestructible to end the turn. Squall is a human, so, hexproof is another form of protection we got there, and we keep sacrificing it, we keep bringing it back. Knight of the White Orchid, 2 mana, good enter battlefield ability, getting you planes out of your deck onto the battlefield. Keep having this coming back, keep getting those lands, as long as someone has more lands than you. Lore into the Third Path, when it enters, destroy a target artifact or enchantment, tap it, you can target opponent, draw a card, a little bit of group hug. Maybe someone needs a card and they agree not to attack you. Or, you just let this block something, it gets destroyed, and then you just bring it back to destroy another target artifact or enchantment. Laris the Dream Den, you could technically do this as a companion because you just need to eliminate a few cards in here. But during each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent with CMC 2 or less from your graveyard. most of our deck is either Dree 2 or 1. So this allows us to cast most of our deck. Let's do it. Mother of Runes, same thing as Giver of Runes, gives us protection, makes it so he's protected, or makes it so he can swing in, depending on if we want to use that aggressively or defensively. Plague Crafter, another Curse Mortar ability, enters, each player sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they discard a card. Selfless Savior, another form of protection for Squall. Sacrifice it, Squall's indestructible, and then, bring it back from your graveyard once Squall deals that damage. Same thing with Selfless Spirit, basically the same exact card, just 1 mana more. Sigiled Paladin, first strike, Exalted. We like the Exalted ability on here. This way we could keep on pumping up Squall. Or, Squall doesn't necessarily need to be the one to attack. We could attack with something else. We tend not to, but we could. Silent Arbiter, no more than 1 creature can attack each combat. No more than 1 creature can block each combat. So, if we just have Squall out and we give him double strike and he's the only one we really care about attacking. This is one of our only 3 CMC or higher ones, 4 CMC or higher ones in here. Citrus Supplier, whenever this creature enters or dies, mill 3 cards. It's a good defender because we keep getting it back with Squall, keep milling those cards, keep getting more of the gas that we need out of our deck into our graveyard. This way we keep bringing it back there with Squall. Sublime Archangel, Exalted, other creatures you control have Exalted. This does explain where it stacks. 3 creatures, Exalted. He's now a 6/7, allowing you to, double strike that. That's 12 damage. That's 2 hits on our opponent for commander damage. Sun Titan, bring back a 3 CMC or lower card from our graveyard, aka most of our deck. Why not? Voice of Victory, makes it so our opponent can't counter our stuff, they can't get in our way. And, we get some tokens, and it's only 2 mana, so we can keep bringing it back if our opponent does manage to remove it during their turn. And then Warren Soul Trader, pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, you create a treasure token. For some reason I thought it dealt damage for a second. But all these stuff that we have on our battlefield that we could get back, so if we don't have anything to target on our graveyard, now we do. Okay, let's scroll on over to the second half of the deck. There we go. Oh yeah, no, for some reason I thought I didn't have any enchantments, but I realized those are next, and I thought it was instant enchantment sorceries. Angelic Benediction, Exalted. We can even have Exalted on a non-creature spell. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you may tap target creature. So say if we have this, and, your opponent has 1 creature, we make sure that we could get in that damage with Squall. It's going to tend not to happen too often, but it's nice when it does. Darksteel Mutation. Get rid of one of our opponent's creatures without actually getting rid of it. Helps us get rid of the commander for quite some time because it's indestructible, 0/1, loses all abilities unless they have a way to sacrifice it, or, a way to get rid of Darksteel Mutation. This card's going to stick around for a while. Kai's Ghost Form. This way, even if Squall does end up getting removed somehow, we still have a way to get it back onto the battlefield. Phyrexian Arena for a little bit of extra draw power there. Ripples of Undeath. Mill 3 cards. Choose one of them that you want to put back into your hand. And, may as well keep the ones that we want to revive with Squall in the graveyard, while getting the ones that we don't back to our hand. Seal Cleansing. Sacrifice Seal Cleansing to destroy target artifact or enchantment. So Squall's ability does say permanent, so even if we just sacrifice this, we still bring it back with Squall's ability, allowing us to keep on destroying those target artifacts or enchantments our opponent controls. Anguish Unmaking for a little bit of removal. Dark Ritual allows us to get a little bit of mana. Dawn's Truce. Ooh, why is my mouse acting weird? Gives all of our things hexproof and indestructible, giving that a little bit of extra protection there for Squall. Deadly Dispute. Sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, create a treasure. Sacrifice a creature we want in our graveyard. This way we have something to revive there with Squall. Entomb. Why sacrifice it when you can just put it directly into the graveyard? Put it from your graveyard into the battlefield, into the graveyard. Basically puts it onto the battlefield once you get Squall to attack in. Generous Gift for some removal. Path to Exile and Source of Plowshares for removal. Same with Mortify. Ink Shield allows us a little bit of protection. Like I said, our opponent's going to be trying to deal plenty of damage to us. Let's prevent as much as we can. And sorceries, Board Wipe, an Austere Command, Buried Alive, Search Library for up to 3 creature cards, aka same as Entomb, where we're just going to get what we want from our deck into our graveyard. This way, keep on reviving it. Damn, destroy target creature. Creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated for as much as that's worth, or overload it for a board wipe there. Farewell for another board wipe. Exile all artifacts, enchantments, creatures, and graveyards. Yeah, we really want to say, oh, let's live another turn. Well, you could even exile our own graveyard. Knight's Whisper, draw a little bit of draw power on that. Safine's Reclamation. Yeah, like I said, everything in our deck's basically Dream Mana or less, so let's just get it back from our graveyard. And Unmarked Grave, search your library for a non-legendary card, put that card into a graveyard and shuffle. This doesn't necessarily have to be a creature. We could get Kaya's Ghost Form into our graveyard, or Darksteel Mutation. That's the other thing. Even if someone does remove Darksteel Mutation, we could just bring it back. But yeah, that's the deck there. Thanks so much for tuning into the channel. As always, I'm just going to scroll through the lands here. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay tuned for future Commander deck profiles. We're hoping to have some gameplay come to the channel soon again. But hope you liked the video and have a great day.